guys, this is Comic Uno and Comic Frontline, and today I'm doing Comic Uno episode 93, and this is a show where I review all the comics I read this week in one show. And let's start talking about the comics this week. We're going worst pick of the week to best pick of the week. Finally, we're in a normal amount of books, about 18, that's pretty normal for me. Last week I had about 26, 28, that was a lot. So, glad to be back to this number. And we're continuing with the Convergence titles. This is week 2 of Convergence. So let's start with number 18, which is a Convergence title. Convergence Supergirl Matrix was my worst pick of the week this week. Wasn't feeling Supergirl. Now, I'm a big Supergirl fan. This is technically not Supergirl, it's Matrix. This is... Matrix has a complicated, origin, but they actually explain it pretty well here. We get to see that Matrix, has a relationship with Lex, and trying to get used to life, and, the dome comes down, and she's fighting Lady Quark and Lady Volt, Lord Volt, which I don't know about their characters at all. They bicker throughout the whole issue, and then Ambush Bug comes along, so I'll defeat you, blah, blah, blah. And so we have another person, random person she's gonna fight. So, yeah, this is a weird issue. First of all, art-wise, the art was okay until, everyone's hair was flying around. Everyone's hair was, up in the air, like a balloon, you would rub a balloon and then the static electricity. That was everyone's hair. Good examples right here. It's very abstract. Everyone, again, is always flying in the air. And no one was flying either. People were just sitting down. The hair was just waving around. So that was a little weird. But the artwork overall, facial expressions were fine. It was just the weird hair in the story. Then the bickering of Lord Volt and Lady Quark. I was like, oh, so tired of this. This was not what I signed up for when I wanted to read Supergirl Matrix. So the people she fought were kind of boring, and I think even Supergirl was bored in the issue. She's just like, alright, you guys are gonna, fight me or something? So yeah, I didn't really like the issue that much. It was just, yeah, I understand it was this quirky thing, but it wasn't for me. So I gave Supergirl Matrix issue 1 2 stars. Alright, so we are moving on to number 17, which is an Image book, and Top Cow book, which is called the Tithe issue 1. I just wasn't feeling this one. I thought it was going to be more Robin Hood-esque, because the book is about, this church stealing from people, and then there's this organization that wants to steal the money back. And yeah, it does have the Robin Hood-esque, but it was just kind of boring. It was very wordy, very preachy in a way. It's preachy. It's like, oh, well, you can't trust these churches. So yeah, I just wasn't really feeling it. I didn't care about the organization, because you never really got a face to the organization until, the end. And I think we need to learn more about that character for us to be hooked for this series, and I just was not hooked at all. I just wasn't interested. The artwork was actually pretty good for the series, but the story overall just did not interest me at all. So the Tithe issue 1, for me, got 2.5 stars. Again, just wasn't interested. Alright, moving on to number 16, which surprisingly is Nova issue 29. Wasn't a horrible issue at all, so there wasn't actually that many bad issues this week. But for me, Nova really started out strong. There's a great beat with Sam Alexander giving the Nova helmet to Richard Rider's parents. I thought that was a great moment. And then we get to see Sam Alexander wanting to find his father. But then everything in the middle, I did not care about the space pirate stuff. I understand that has to do with his father, but I just did not care. And also something that really dragged this book down was the artwork. There's some details that weren't fully filled out. The beginning, again, was okay with the artwork, but then towards the end, it got a little lazy. I want to try to find an example. But yes, Captain Marvel doesn't have eyes here. There's just some examples. There's more here, too. I know there's more where the details weren't perfect. And I don't love this style for Nova. I do like the other artists more. And sometimes this style does work, but this issue just didn't work for me. So yeah, it's cool to see Sam Alexander wanting to find his father, even though the story has been told before. Or not told before, it's just been kind of dragging after 29 issues. Alright, Sam Alexander really should find his father at this point. So yeah, strong beginning, but the ending just kind of fell flat for me. So Nova issue 29 gets 3 stars. It wasn't a horrible issue, but it's between a pick up and don't pick up. I guess I'm leaning towards more pick up, because you do get some information about where the series is going to go, but it was a little bit of iffy issue. Alright, moving on to number 15, which is Convergence Justice League International issue 1. This is actually something I did review on Comic Frontline, and I thought it was an okay issue. I just kind of thought it was generic. I'm not a big fan of Justice League International. If you are, I think you'll get a little bit more out of this, especially if you like Blue Beetle. But, you know, artwork was pretty average. Let me see. Pretty average artwork, not bad. And then the story was average. It was just a team trying to adjust, and then they got to fight people. I want to see who they had to fight. Yeah, they had to fight Wonder Woman. It's like, alright, kind of seen this before. It's the same pattern of Convergence, and it was nothing really unique. You get to see, alright, team adjusting to Dome, team gets its powers, team fights random villain. And this I felt like was more random than some of the other Convergence books that came out. So yeah, kind of generic for me. Convergence Justice League International. Unless you're a big fan, I don't think you need to pick this up. Alright, we are moving on to number 14? Yes, we are up to number 14, which is Convergence Green Lantern Parallax issue 1. Not a bad issue. I did not read Green Lantern at this time, so I think I had less passion for the issue, but definitely not bad at all. This, I think, had definitely less of a generic issue and generic story as Justice League International. We get to see that Kyle is trying to help Hal with his depression in a bit because the Dome doesn't give Hal Jordan his Paralax powers, so he's grieving about everything he's done. Then when the Dome comes back and it breaks away, Hal is Paralax again. So now it's the two heroes that shouldn't be fighting each other, working together, are fighting each other. And then also the random villain that we get to see, which is really random actually, is, I don't even know her name, Electropolis? Yeah, I don't know her name, but random villain that you have to fight because you want to save your world, but the more interesting fight is between Hal and Kyle. And I think this is the first time they've actually done that in the Convergence books, where it's like, oh, these two people that are actually from the same world are going to fight each other, where they have this other battle they actually have to fight. So it was a lot of fun. I think if you're a Hal Jordan fan, if you're a fan of Kyle especially his beginning journey, it's very much a story about that. And artwork wasn't bad. This was actually a little bit more cartoony than anything, but I liked it. Not bad artwork at all. So overall, I gave Convergence Green Lantern Parallax 3.5 stars. Alright, moving on to number 13. Yeah, we're up to number 13, which is Tales of Terror issue 10. Not a bad issue of Tales of Terror. I really enjoy this series overall because it's always something different. Every issue is just a one-shot story and it's always horrifying. And this issue is just about a married couple who want to rent this boathouse for their wedding, and then we find out the story of this guy who's a player who ends up getting killed on in this boat because he was lured into this room. And then by the end, the girl who wants the boathouse is kind of a bitch, so she gets lured in by this ghost too. And that's the whole issue. Great artwork as always from Zenescope and from Tales of Terror. But the story was like okay. It was a nice twist towards the end, but I just didn't feel connected to the story as much as I have in the past with Tales of Terror. But it is okay. I think this one was a bit more skippable than others. So yeah, I give it 3.5 stars. Moving on to number 12, right? Yes, number 12, which is Convergence issue 2. A lot higher than it usually is, which I'm happy to see. This is definitely a better issue. First of all, great that it's only $3.99. Happy to see that. And I really enjoyed the Dick Grayson and Thomas Wayne / Bruce Wayne / Oracle stuff here, even though we didn't get to see too much of Oracle, but it was great to see the narration between Dick and, you know, him trying to get a relationship with Thomas, and then the real great moment is, you know, Dick Grayson seeing Oracle saying, oh, does she have a version of Dick Grayson in this world? But then Thomas Wayne and Bruce Wayne face to face to each other. That was great. The other Earth 2 stuff I didn't really care about. That's why it's a little bit lower than, even though there's a lot of epicness between the Dick Grayson story, we still do have the other Earth 2 members doing something. So I didn't really care about that story. That reminded me a lot of Earth 2 World's End, but the actual Dick Grayson story was great. And the artwork is beautiful for this series too, so artwork really worked. So overall, I gave Convergence issue 2 3.5 stars. I thought this was definitely an improvement from what we've been getting, but still not totally on the Convergence story arc board, like the event. I'm not really on board for that, but I do like, you know, the tie-in so far. Alright, moving on to number 11, which is, pretty sure on 11. Let me make sure. I always have to make sure. Yeah, we are on number 11, which is Convergence Suicide Squad issue 1, which I originally wasn't even going to read. I just, you know, I asked Jay, because he reads all the Convergence books. I was like, hey, Jay, what's, like, the good books that I told him the books I was reading. And then I picked up Convergence Suicide Squad also, because it seemed like an interesting book. And it was. I liked the story a lot. I'm not a big Suicide Squad fan, but it was kind of cool to go back to basics and have, like, this retro feel to Suicide Squad. Not the Harley Quinn version, but the older version, have Fat Amanda Waller back. So that was awesome. And even Carol Ferris, that was a real surprise. She was part of this. Oracle was part of this. So Carol Ferris is actually going to be a main part of Suicide Squad. I didn't see that coming. So, and her struggling to being Star Sapphire, so going back to her being possessed Star Sapphire and, like, dealing with that. So really enjoyed that. So yeah, the story overall was really cool to see these characters come together. The artwork kind of brought down, though, is a bit sketchy, the art. Don't have the issue with me because I read it digitally, but it was a bit sketchy, so that brought it down, but the story is worth it. I actually was pleasantly surprised by Convergence Suicide Squad. Not saying it's the best thing ever, but it was a fun book to read. So Convergence Suicide Squad, for me, gets 3.5 stars. Alright, moving on to number 10, which is Thor, issue 7. Pretty good issue. It was close to a 3.5, but I did give it 4 stars because the artwork is beautiful for this series. Just look at this. Love the artwork. The only complaint I have is probably Thor's beard looks a little weird, but everything else is beautiful, so there's not many complaints with this artwork. So it seems like Roz is the female Thor. We're going to get the official reveal next issue, but it seems like they're leading into Roz being female Thor. Unless she's a big red herring, she might be, but I think Roz is female Thor, which a lot of people have been guessing. And I gotta say, I really liked the beginning of this issue, learning a little bit more about Roz and, like, how she got to the place she was. And I'll probably have to go back to God of Thunder because I've never read that series with her introduction, so I'll have to read that. And I hear on eBay it's already a lot of money to get those issues because if she is the female Thor, that would be her first appearance. So we'll have to get those issues before that issue comes out, even if she's not the female Thor. But yeah, I like that portion of the story. I like the ending, too, where we get to see that female Thor believes she's going to lose the hammer. I love the quote where she says, I don't want to be the 5-second Thor. I want to, you know, make a legacy out of this. The only repetitive stuff I didn't really like was, you know, Odin's like, oh, we got to defeat the female Thor. You know, we have to go get the hammer back. And then the actual Norse stuff, like Norse god mythology, not a big fan of that stuff. But I was a fan of female Thor, Odin's son, you know, the Thor himself. I liked the ending. So overall, I thought it was a very solid issue. So Thor issue 7 for me gets 4 stars. And that was number 10. Alright, moving on to, I want to make sure this is number 9. I'm surprised it's actually pretty low. Yeah, so I'm surprised this didn't make top 5. I really did enjoy the issue, but there's just a lot of great issues that came out. American Vampire Second Cycle issue 7. This was a really fun issue. This arc is a bit more of a slow burn than others, and I've been realizing that. But I did read American Vampire in trade, but I've been rereading some of the issues because I love this series, so I do tend to reread the series a lot. And I always have, like, the trades on the side. So yeah, I've been rereading it. I'm like, you know, the series has never been a slow burn. It's just this arc that's been a slow burn. But it's vampires going to space. And what I really enjoyed about this issue the most was probably Pearl and Felicia. Because we get to see them, or, you know, Felicia Brooke, we get to see them, like, kind of become friends, you know, throughout this whole journey. I mean, Felicia has been really against being half vampire, which I hope they explore even more. They tiny bit explored that, but not fully, like, what is the full extent of her powers, or does she have powers, you know? or does she have vampirism? It's like, oh, well, I kind of live long because she's half vampire. So I really love that aspect about her. But it's always been Felicia against Pearl, but they still are friends, and not friends, but they still have to team up with each other all the time because Pearl's not a bad person, and you know, she has power to team up, and she would be powerful for the VMS. And also because Calvin works for the VMS. So Pearl's always like interacting with them anyways. So my favorite moment in this issue has to be where Felicia calls Pearl, oh, Miss Jones, what do you think about this? And then Pearl's like, we should stop calling each other Miss Jones, Miss Brooke. Let's just call each other Pearl and Felicia. Because it's just like they've known each other for so many years. I love that little detail there. Also, we get to see that Skinner has the affection of becoming this monster. Will he get cured? Probably, because he's Skinner. So he's becoming this monster, and now they might have to bring him down there. And also, Skinner has an interesting conversation with Pearl. Pearl's trying to save the children, having bad dreams, so she also affected with this thing? I don't know. We'll have to see. But great artwork by Raphael Albuquerque. Love the artwork. Yes, it's a slow burn issue. Not a lot happens. There's a lot of great small details, though. So American Vampire Second Cycle, for me, gets 4 stars. Right, now we're moving on to number 8, which is Convergence Green Arrow, issue 1. Really enjoyed this issue. This is another really solid Convergence issue. I thought it was a really fun one, especially if you just like old school Green Arrow, which I do. I love seeing Gochi Green Arrow. As much as I like clean shaven Green Arrow, I don't have a problem with that. It's cool to see classic Green Arrow. And it's him, you know, finding out that Connor, well, he knew Connor existed, but it's now going face to face again with Connor during this time of Convergence. And then at the end, the people they have to fight is another version of actually Dinah and his daughter. So it's just this family reunion here, which I was like, oh, that's how you do a versus match. You actually get a versus match that means something. And especially with this whole Connor thing, I was like, oh, wow, a daughter also, and Dinah. That's so awesome. And the artwork was great here, too. It's just a really fun issue. So I really enjoyed Green Arrow Convergence. Definitely one of the better Convergence issues I read this week. And it made me excited to read the next one. The versus match made sense. It was great to see Connor and Oliver interact with each other. Just a really fun issue. So Convergence Green Arrow issue 1 gets 4 stars for me. Alright, moving on to number 7. Right? Yes. Number 7, which is Convergence Superboy, issue 1. This was my favorite Convergence title. I will say there is no other Convergence titles in top 5 land. This is my best Convergence title. This was a lot of fun to see 90s version Superboy. The cocky version of Superboy, but at the same time, the conflict of who am I? Am I Superman? Am I Lex Luthor? Am I good enough to replace Superman? And it's him trying to discover how to get his powers back during the Dome. Now, once he does get his powers back, he goes against Dick Grayson that looks a lot like Tim Drake of Red Robin. So that was just more of like, oh my god, Teen Titans. But obviously it's just Dick Grayson. But, and also that Red Robin comes way later, so this Superboy would not recognize that. But I think this version was in the Young Justice team at this point. The cool thing is, the cliffhanger, is that Superboy is going to go up against Kingdom Come Superman. Awesome. Again, the versus match, that makes sense. Going back to like Supergirl, like, oh, who are these people? But now you get to see Superman versus Superboy go against it. And so I really enjoyed this issue. It's just fun, classic Superboy. Cocky Superboy, but at the same time not cocky. It's like the lovable Superboy. So really enjoyed it. Artwork was really good too. I thought it fit this book really well. So overall, I give Superboy issue 1 4 stars, and that was my number 7 pick. And that was my favorite Convergence issue of the week. Alright, moving on to number 6, which is Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, issue 2. This was a really fun issue. Almost made top 5. I thought this was actually a lot better than the first issue, but I also liked the first issue. There was just this spunk for Abigail, and that's what I really enjoyed about the first issue, and that's what I really liked about the second issue, is just seeing more of that spunk from Abigail, saying, hey, yeah, I know I'm a woman in the gold rush age, I shouldn't be doing this, I shouldn't be going mining and jumping on horses, but I'm going to do it anyways. And then she finds out that her savior from the first issue is actually a bandit. So she's trying to fight this bandit. And she gets captured in the end, but not in a damsel in distress way, but it was really cool. I love Abigail as a character, and this is just a fun Disney book. I never expected to say that about Big Thunder Mountain, but you know, I really enjoyed Seekers of the Weird, but then like went downhill. I see Big Thunder Mountain actually going uphill, which is great to see. So I'm enjoying this series a lot, and I'll definitely be picking up the rest of the miniseries. And I give Big Thunder Mountain 4 stars. A really great issue. All right, now we're moving on to number 5, which is Superior Iron Man, issue 7. This is a great issue also. First of all, artwork, beautiful as always. Love the classic feel of the Mark II Iron Man suit. And what I liked about this issue a lot is Iron Man of 8 years ago, his mind frame with Superior Iron Man trying to fight each other, and Superior Iron Man being superior in the end. He is able to outsmart his older self, or younger self, and he outsmarts him, and he's gonna put the Mark suit on, try to trick Pepper, and fight Pepper maybe? And Pepper was great in this issue too. Her having the rescue gauntlet right here, I thought it was very cool for her using the suit again, or at least half of the suit, and we know she's going to become Rescue again, which is great. It's been a while since Pepper's been active in kind of the Marvel Universe, so it's great to see that, and Pepper be against Tony, but also want to help Tony. Just a really enjoyable issue. It's more of a point A to point B issue, but there's some nice twists and turns in between, and some good character moments. So Superior Iron Man issue 7 gets 4 stars for me, and is number 5 on the list. Alright, moving on to number 4, which is Revival, issue 29, which is like on my top 5 every week now, or every month, because it's a great series. This issue, a lot happens. A lot happens in this issue. We get to see that the city is trying to figure out, what do we do with revivers? Do we put them in concentration camps, or we don't? And are all revivers bad, or are they good? And we get to see that the mayor's wife is crazy. So she puts a bomb in her chest and blows up the place. But Donna, who's the head of the revivers, saves Ems and Dana's father, Sheriff Cypress, and he's saved by her. So again, it's the question, are all revivers bad? Are they good? Are they pretending to be good? Like, what is this? So it's really interesting to see, do they have feelings? Do they not? I'm sure it's going to be a big debate of, like, do we trust these revivers? Are they really people? Is this real debate? So overall, and then we have M's friend, I'm trying to think of her name, who dies in the end. And she was a main character of this series, and she dies. So we'll see how M reacts to that. But really, really great issue here. Again, just a lot happens, and I think it's just the idea of what are they going to do with the revivers now? Great artwork also, just a lot of great tension. So yes, we don't get to see M and Dana as much in this issue, who are the main characters, and I'm wearing my Revival shirt today because, I read Revival. But it is a really solid issue. Almost went to 4.5 stars, but I did give it 4 stars, and I'm super, super excited to see where Revival goes. Alright, moving on to number 3, which is Miss Marvel, issue 14. This is a blast of an issue. I said this in my in-depth review, and I'm going to say it here. This is a cliche story arc, but I don't care. I don't care that it's predictable. I don't care that it's cliche, because I think it's supposed to be cliche and predictable, because it's the cliche of love. Your first crush. It's that cliche-ness, but it's Camilla's point of view, so it makes it all fun and makes it kind of different. The point is that you care about Kamala so much, you don't really care that the other story is cliche. It actually makes it a lot of fun. Because Kamala is she thinks she's fallen in love to this guy. And she finds out this guy's evil and wants her to join this Inhuman group that's not really that great. And then Bruno wanting to kind of tell Kamala his feelings. But then, Kamala's brother saying, we love you as family, but you're our family's not going to allow you to go out with Kamala. It just won't happen. It's two different cultures. But then Bruno explains, no, we are not. We have so much in common. So, I mean, I'm rooting for Bruno and Kamala to one day come together, but we'll see. I think first Kamala's probably going to have to tell her parents that she's Inhuman. Then maybe they'll be okay with Bruno and Kamala being together. That will be a fun interaction once that happens. But really great artwork. Just great story. Loved it. Again, was a cliche, yeah, but it was a lot of fun. And, you know, Kamala's reactions, really fun issue. And I can't wait to see where the story arc goes. This is what made me fall in love with the series in the first place, was Kamala's character and this groundedness of the series. So, really great issue. 4.5 from me. Moving on to number 2. Surprisingly, it's a Black Vortex title. Legendary Star-Lord, issue 11. You know, I don't think Black Vortex is perfect. I think there's a lot of filler issues in between. They did not need all these parts. But overall, it was a pretty good story. And, I mean, I have my fears that Kitty might die. But I hope she doesn't. Or something's going to happen to Kitty. But in this issue, it's the idea of someone's got to go into the Black Vortex. Someone that can handle it. Someone who doesn't want all that cosmic power. Who hates space. And, you know, first Jean wants to do it. She wants to be that martyr. Of course, she's been a martyr before. Then Star-Lord wants to do it. But then, you know, he gets corrupted with power. So Kitty, throughout the whole issue, is describing how much she hates space, but also describes what's this plan B. She has to figure out this plan B. And she realizes she's got to be the one to have the Black Vortex. She has to be the one to do so. And I really enjoyed this issue. Of course, as a Kitty Pryde fan, I really enjoyed it, but at the same time, I don't want her to die. I have a feeling she might die. I hope she doesn't die. I don't want her to die in space again. But I really enjoyed this issue because I think it shows a lot of who Kitty Pryde is. First of all, just going back, it's referencing of her death in space. You know, she had to be, well, not really her death, but her being in a bullet for about 2 or 3 years and phasing through a bullet. So she doesn't really like space. But she's a martyr. She really is. She will do that for the X-Men. And she doesn't really care about power. And I think she's a character, obviously she meditates a lot. She is a ninja. I think she is the only character here that could control that power. So yeah, I think that was a really cool character choice. And I'm excited to see what they do with it. I don't know what direction the series is going to go after Kitty takes this power, and I hope she doesn't die, or, you know, she's not used in comics for a while. I hope that's not the case. But I really enjoyed this issue for what it was, and really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great progression, and I thought Kitty Pryde definitely was the perfect character to pick for the Black Vortex, especially going back to that first issue, because she's the one who was wary about it. It's like, wait, you know, everything that's happened with the with cosmic power, we shouldn't do this. So again, she's just the one that makes perfect sense. So yeah, Black Vortex, Legendary Star-Lord, issue 11, got number 2. I really enjoyed this issue. Alright, moving on to number 1. I'm going to say I had a blast with this issue, and it is another Kitty Pryde issue, and that was Uncanny X-Men, issue 33. This is a whole lot of fun. What I loved about this issue, first of all, artwork, great. The little facial expressions they make. Kitty holding Ileana by her shirt, and Ileana's like, what are you doing? Like, she looks down, and also just like the little grunt she makes here, the little facial expressions she makes there. Just great. Great artwork. It's great little details. But what I loved about this issue, first of all, it's Ileana and Kitty's relationship. Getting to see them work together again, and, you know, Kitty be sarcastic to Ileana, and then Ileana says, you know what, I don't like when you make those type of jokes, and then them understand each other a little bit more, even though they've been good friends for a while. It's just them understanding their point of views, and then them trying to help a mutant, and that's really what the X-Men's always been about, is helping other mutants, and I think, you know, just like Magneto confused that and confused that idea, and, you know, had his own ideas, I think X-Men in general, the franchise in general, has confused that. What has X-Men always been about is helping other mutants, or at least the school's always been about. And, you know, with all these battles and these civil wars, it kind of escaped that. It was never about that at this point. With this issue, just went back to classic X-Men, and that's what I loved about it. And just some of the small dialogue, like this little kid didn't know how to speak English, and, you know, Kitty, like, going down and settling down and saying, hey, you know, what's your name? And she says, Boo. And then it's like, oh, well, my name's Kitty. And then she's like, Kitty Cat? And it's like, yeah, Kitty Cat. And then Ileana, how the way she interacts with the kid. She's like, oh, well, I'm going to kill your father. And she's like, what? And Boo's like, what? You're going to kill my father? No, I don't want you to kill my father. So it's the way Kitty interacts with her, and then Ileana. It was a very nice contrast. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. And then even the end, you know, Boo ends up going to the Jean Grey Institute, and then Nightcrawler tries to talk to her, and then Kitty's like, probably shouldn't do that. You're probably scaring her. Because it goes back to, you know, Kitty being 13 years old, going into the Xavier school and being scared of Nightcrawler for the longest time. So just kind of relating to that. So great artwork and just a really fun story. Going back to the basics of what X-Men's about. And that's why I really enjoyed this issue, and why Uncanny X-Men issue 33 was my pick of the week. So I hope you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to like my Facebook page. Also in the description below, there's links for my comic book, Like Father Like Daughter. And don't forget to like the Facebook page of Like Father Like Daughter. I'll see you guys later, and of course, next week I'll have another episode for Comic Uno. And in the comments below, let me know what was your worst pick of the week and best pick of the week and everything in between. See you guys.